Welcome, my dear friend. Welcome to another journey through the cosmos and time. I'm so glad you've found your way here tonight to this quiet moment we're about to share together. You know, there's something absolutely magical. I want to tell you about water. Something that'll change how you think about every drop of rain, every sip you take, every ocean wave you've ever watched roll onto shore. Did you know that the water molecules flowing through your body right now, they're older than the sun itself? It's true. Every single atom of hydrogen in that water was born in the first 3 minutes after the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. And tonight, oh tonight, we're going to do something extraordinary. You're going to become one of these ancient water molecules, and you're going to swim through every ocean that's ever existed on our beautiful Earth. From the very first scalding steam clouds to the peaceful seas, we know today, and you know, if you're finding some comfort in these words already, if this journey sounds like somewhere you'd like to go tonight, I'd be so grateful if you'd gently tap that like button. It really helps other restless souls find these peaceful moments. And if you'd like more of these cosmic adventures, maybe consider subscribing. There's a whole universe of sleep stories waiting for you. I'd also love to hear in the comments what oceans you dream about, what waters call to you when you're drifting off to sleep. But no pressure at all, my friend. We're just here to rest together, to float together through time. So, let's begin to settle in now. Let yourself sink just a little deeper into wherever you're resting. Feel how the weight of your body is already being held, completely supported. You don't need to hold anything up anymore. Not tonight. Let your shoulders drop. Let them release, and take a breath with me. A slow, gentle breath in through your nose, feeling that cool air flowing in. And now, let it go. Just let it flow out, naturally, like a wave retreating back to sea. Your eyelids are getting heavier now, and that's perfect. Let them close whenever they want to. There's nothing you need to see with your eyes anymore, because we're going to see with something much older, much deeper. We're going to experience the world the way water does, through sensation, through gentle movement, through the slow dance of molecules that's been happening since the birth of the universe. Feel yourself beginning to shift, beginning to change. You're becoming lighter, simpler, more essential. You're transforming into a single molecule of water. 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen, bound together in that perfect angle that makes water so special, so unique in all the cosmos. You can feel it happening. This gentle transformation. You're not losing yourself. You're becoming more yourself than ever. Because water remembers everything. Water has been everywhere. And tonight, you're going to experience it all. Your journey begins 4.5 billion years ago, when Earth was just a baby planet, still glowing with the heat of its formation. The surface was molten rock, orange and red, like the inside of a volcano, stretched across an entire world. But you weren't just on Earth yet. No, you were drifting through space, part of a vast cloud of ice and dust, riding on a comet that had been sailing through the darkness for millions of years. Can you feel it? That sense of endless drifting, endless patience. You're crystallized in ice, so pure. It's almost like glass, surrounded by billions of other water molecules, just like you, all waiting, all traveling together through the infinite black. The stars are so bright out here, without any atmosphere to dim them. They're like diamonds scattered on velvet, and you're sailing past them all, getting closer and closer to a young star we'll one day call the sun. And there, just ahead, is a small rocky world. It doesn't look like much yet, just a ball of fire and chaos. But something about its gravity calls to you, pulls at you. Your comet is being drawn in, and you're about to become part of Earth's very first ocean. But not an ocean like you know. Oh no. Earth's first ocean was made of steam, of vapor, a massive atmosphere of water, thousands of miles thick. This is where your story really begins, where you'll condense from that first steam, fall as one of Earth's very first raindrops, and begin an incredible journey through every ocean that's ever existed, through iron seas that would rust any metal in seconds, through waters so rich with life they turned green as emeralds, through ice ages where the entire planet froze solid. You'll drift with the very first living things, float alongside creatures that seem like aliens, rest in trenches deeper than mountains are tall. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to do anything. You just have to be. Just like water, you'll follow the path of least resistance, always flowing, always finding your way, letting gravity and temperature and time itself carry you wherever you need to go. Your comet is falling now, not quickly, not violently, but with the slow, inevitable grace of celestial mechanics. You're approaching Earth's atmosphere, what there is of it, mostly hydrogen and helium from the solar nebula, with traces of methane and ammonia. It's nothing like the air that'll exist billions of years from now. This is an alien world, a world still being born. The heat hits you first, even from millions of miles away. Earth's surface is over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt rock, hot enough to vaporize metal. Your comet begins to glow, then burn, then transform. The ice around you is sublimating, turning directly from solid to gas, and you're released, finally free after millions of years of frozen sleep. You're vapor now, steam, mixing with countless other water molecules that came before you. Some arrived on earlier comets. Others were released from the rocks themselves as Earth formed. You're all mingling together in this thick, heavy atmosphere, dense with water vapor, creating Earth's first ocean. Except, it's not an ocean of liquid. It's an ocean of steam that wraps the entire planet. Can you feel how different this is? You're moving so much faster as vapor, bouncing off other molecules, rising and falling with the convection currents. The energy is incredible, but somehow still peaceful, like being carried in a warm wind that never stops blowing. You rise high into the upper atmosphere, where it's cooler, then sink back down toward the blazing surface, up and down, in a rhythm that'll define Earth's weather for the next 4.5 billion years. Time passes differently when you're a molecule. Days blur into years, years into centuries, centuries into millions of years. The moon is so much closer right now, maybe only 15,000 miles away, instead of the 250,000. It'll be in your time. It looks enormous in the sky, taking up 30 times more space than it will in the modern era. And it's pulling at you, creating massive tides. Even in this ocean of steam, something beautiful is beginning to happen though. Earth is cooling so slowly, you barely notice it at first. The radiation of heat into space is finally winning against the heat of formation. The surface temperature drops to 1900 degrees, then 1800, then 17. Each degree cooler allows you to spend more time in your lower, denser form. You're still steam, but you're heavier steam now, more likely to cluster with other water molecules. And then, after waiting for 100 million years, it happens. The temperature at the surface drops below the critical point, 374 degrees Celsius, the magical boundary where water can exist as a liquid under pressure. You're about to experience something no water molecule had ever experienced on Earth before. You're about to condense to become the very first raindrop. It starts as a feeling of attraction. You and the water molecules around you are pulling together, forming tiny clusters, then bigger ones, then drops. You're liquid for the first time on this planet. And you're falling through that thick atmosphere, joined by trillions upon trillions of other drops. Earth's first rain is beginning. But here's something incredible. When you hit the surface, you instantly vaporize again. It's still far too hot down there for liquid water to exist, so you rise back up as steam, cool, condense, fall, vaporize, rise again. This cycle continues for millions of years. Earth is trying to rain, trying to form oceans, but it's not quite ready yet. You've become patient by now, infinitely patient. This cycle of condensation and evaporation is almost meditative, like breathing, like the planet itself is learning how to breathe. And with each cycle, Earth cools just a tiny bit more. The rocks at the surface are darkening, solidifying into the first real crust. Black basalt, as far as you could see, if there were eyes to see with, the Hadean eon. That's what scientists in the far future will call this time, named after Hades, the underworld, because Earth really is like a vision of hell right now. But you don't experience it as hellish. To you, it's just warm, energetic, full of potential. You're part of something magnificent being born. Finally, after another 100 million years of this dance, the surface temperature drops below 212 degrees Fahrenheit, the boiling point of water at sea level, though there's no sea yet, just endless black rock. When you fall as rain now, you don't immediately vaporize. You collect in the smallest depressions first, tiny puddles that steam and bubble, but don't completely disappear. Can you imagine being part of Earth's very first puddle, your liquid water on the surface, gathering with other molecules, forming the tiniest pool in a crack between cooling rocks? The ground beneath you is still so hot, it's glowing dull red in places. The sky above is thick with clouds, so dense they block out almost all sunlight. It's like perpetual twilight, or like being deep underwater. Even though you're on the surface, more rain falls, constant rain. Rain that'll continue without stopping for millions of years. The scientists of the future will call this the late heavy bombardment, when countless comets and asteroids delivered their water to Earth. But you experience it as the great gathering. Every puddle grows into a pond, every pond into a lake, every lake spreads and merges with others. You're flowing now, actually flowing across Earth's surface for the first time, following gravity downhill, collecting in the deepest basins. The oceans are being born, and you're part of them. You've found your first home. These first oceans are nothing like the ones you might know. They're hot, nearly boiling in some places. They're shallow, maybe only a few 100 feet deep at most. They're brown and murky, full of dissolved minerals from the rocks. Iron especially, so much iron that the water has a metallic taste. If there were anyone to taste it, the waves are different too. With the moon so close, the tides are hundreds of feet high. Imagine walls of water as tall as skyscrapers rolling around the planet every few hours. You're lifted up and swept inland for miles, then pulled back out to sea. This constant churning mixes everything, erodes the rocks faster, dissolves more minerals. Lightning strikes the water constantly. The atmosphere is so energetic, so full of electrical potential. Every few seconds, somewhere on the planet, a massive bolt of electricity courses through the oceans. The energy is incredible, and it's doing something special. It's breaking apart molecules and forcing them to recombine in new ways. You're not just water anymore. You're part of a vast chemical laboratory. Sometimes you evaporate again, rise back into those eternal clouds, then fall as rain somewhere else. You might land on the night side of Earth, where it's cooler, almost peaceful. The water here is barely steaming, calm enough that you can see the reflection of the stars when the clouds part, which isn't often. Or you might fall near one of the countless volcanoes that dot the planet. Rivers of lava pour into the sea, creating massive pillows of black rock that stack up to form the first volcanic islands. When the lava hits the water, it explodes into steam, and you're vaporized again, sent back up into the atmosphere to continue your endless cycle. But something profound is happening in these primordial seas. With each passing million years, the oceans grow deeper, larger, more stable. The temperature continues to drop from near boiling to merely hot, like the warmest hot spring you could imagine, spread across an entire planet. And in this warm, mineral-rich water, in the constant mixing of tides and the endless energy from lightning, something extraordinary is beginning. Chemistry is becoming more complex. Simple molecules are linking together into chains. Some of these chains can make copies of themselves. Life is trying to begin, and you're here to witness it, to be part of it. You drift through these ancient waters, sometimes at the surface, where you can feel the constant patter of rain, sometimes deeper, where the water is calmer, warmer, more stable. You're not alone. Billions upon billions of water molecules surround you, all dancing the same slow dance, all part of Earth's first ocean. Time flows like water itself now, centuries pouring into millennia, millennia into millions of years. The Hadean eon is fading, and you're entering what future scientists will call the Archean, the time of ancient waters. Earth is 3.8 billion years old now. Just a child, in cosmic terms, but old enough to have real oceans, permanent oceans, and you're part of them. The water around you has changed color. It's not clear, not blue like modern seas. It's greenish-brown, sometimes rusty orange, like looking through a piece of sea glass that's been stained with iron. And there's so much iron, dissolved iron, everywhere. Earth's oceans are basically a vast pool of liquid rust that hasn't rusted yet. Because there's no free oxygen to rust with, you drift through these strange waters, and they're thicker than the water you might know, denser with all those dissolved minerals. You move more slowly, more dreamlike. When the sunlight filters down through the perpetual clouds, it turns everything a dim amber color, like honey, like autumn light, but underwater. The seafloor beneath you is unlike anything that'll exist in Earth's future. There are no continents yet, just thousands of small volcanic islands, like a planet-wide archipelago, black basalt islands that rise from the sea, smoke for a few million years, then erode back into the waves. You've watched hundreds of them come and go by now. Mountains being born and dying, all in slow motion. Sometimes you wash up onto these islands' shores. The beaches are black sand, pure volcanic glass, ground down by those enormous tides. The moon is still close, though not as close as before. Maybe 30,000 miles away now. The tides are still massive, 100-foot walls of greenish water that sweep across the land and in the tide pools, in the quiet places between the rocks. Something incredible is happening. You're not alone anymore. There's life in the water with you. Not life like you'd recognize. No fish or plants or anything with eyes, just simple bacteria, the very first living things. But they're everywhere, billions of them in every drop. These first bacteria are doing something that'll change everything. They're learning to eat sunlight, photosynthesis, though it's not the kind that makes oxygen yet. These purple and green bacteria use the sun's energy to break apart molecules like hydrogen sulfide. The water near them smells like rotten eggs, but it's the smell of life taking hold. You flow past vast mats of these bacteria, purple slime that covers the shallow seas for miles and miles. They're growing, spreading, turning sunlight into more bacteria. And when they die, they sink to the bottom, forming Earth's first organic sediments, thin layers of ancient life pressed between layers of rock. The Archean oceans are quiet, so much quieter than the Hadean seas were. The constant asteroid bombardment has finally ended. The volcanoes still erupt, but less frequently. The rain still falls, but gentler now. It's like Earth is settling into a rhythm, finding its balance. You spend millions of years in these iron seas, sometimes at the surface where the bacteria bloom, sometimes in the deep basins where the water is darker, warmer, more mysterious. There are places where hot springs bubble up from the seafloor, bringing minerals from deep inside Earth. The water here is almost boiling, but it's full of life. Bacteria that don't need sunlight at all, that eat the chemicals from Earth's interior. And then something starts to change. It's so slow, you barely notice at first, taking hundreds of millions of years. But some of the bacteria have developed a new trick, a new kind of photosynthesis. They're not just using sunlight to break apart simple molecules anymore. They're splitting water itself, breaking you and molecules like you into hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen escapes to space. It's too light for Earth's gravity to hold. But the oxygen starts to accumulate. First, just tiny amounts, barely detectable. The iron in the oceans immediately grabs it, rusting, turning from dissolved green iron into solid red rust that falls like snow to the ocean floor. You've become part of the most important chemical reaction in Earth's history. Sometimes you're split apart by these new cyanobacteria, your hydrogen drifting away forever, your oxygen combining with iron. Then new water molecules form from volcanic gases, and you're whole again, dancing through this slowly changing sea. For millions of years, the oceans rust. Layer after layer of red iron oxide settles on the seafloor, creating what future geologists will call banded iron formations, red and gray stripes in the rock, each stripe representing millions of years of this slow oxidation. You drift through water that's literally rusting around you. Tiny particles of rust float everywhere like red snow, settling slowly, constantly. The ocean is cleaning itself of iron, and once the iron is gone, once it's all rusted and fallen to the seafloor, the oxygen will have nowhere to go but up into the atmosphere. This is the great oxygenation event beginning, though it'll take another billion years to fully unfold. You're witnessing the moment that'll make complex life possible. That'll turn the sky blue and the oceans clear. But right now, it's happening so slowly, so gently. Just bacteria breathing, just iron rusting, just you floating through it all. The cyanobacteria are everywhere now. They've learned to stick together, forming long chains, then mats, then strange layered structures that future scientists will call stromatolites. They look like rocky pillows, growing slowly in the shallow seas, each layer representing a year of growth. Thousands of layers millions of layers. You wash over these living rocks with each tide. Sometimes you're trapped in their sticky surfaces, held for a few years, while the bacteria use sunlight to split water molecules around you. Then a storm comes, tears you free, and you're back in the open ocean. The Archean seas are peaceful now. They've found their rhythm. The days are shorter. Earth spins faster. Maybe 18 hours from sunrise to sunrise. The tides sweep around the planet more frequently, but they're gentler than before. The moon has drifted farther away, maybe 50,000 miles now, and the water is cleaner, clearer. The rusty orange is fading to a greenish blue. You can see deeper, farther. Sunlight penetrates more easily, feeding more bacteria, creating more oxygen, slowly, patiently, inexorably changing the world. Sometimes you evaporate, rise into clouds that are white now instead of brown. The rain that falls is cleaner, purer. It doesn't taste of sulfur and iron anymore. Just the faintest hint of salt from the rocks. It's dissolved over billions of years. You fall as rain onto the growing patches of land. Yes, land is growing. The first small continents are forming, not like the ones you'd know, but stable cratons, cores of granite that rise above the waves and stay there. Pink and gray granite that weathers differently than the black basalt, creating different minerals, different chemistry. Rivers form on these early continents, and you flow down them, carrying sediments to the sea, building the first river deltas, the first real beaches that aren't made of volcanic glass. The geography of Earth is becoming more complex, more interesting, more like a world where life could thrive. But the biggest change is in the life itself. The cyanobacteria have conquered the oceans. They're everywhere, in every drop of water, on every surface. They've turned the entire ocean into a living thing, breathing, metabolizing, slowly filling the water with the oxygen that'll eventually fill the air. You're part of this transformation. Sometimes you're inside a bacterium, part of its chemistry, helping it convert sunlight into energy. Sometimes you're outside, carrying nutrients, washing away waste. You're not just a witness to life anymore. You're part of the system that keeps it alive. The Archean oceans are ending. After 1.5 billion years, the water around you is almost modern in some ways, salty, full of life, moved by familiar forces like wind and tides. But in other ways, it's still alien. No fish swim through these waters. No seaweed grows. Just bacteria and more bacteria. The foundation of everything. That'll come later. The oxygen is winning now. After hundreds of millions of years of patient production, the cyanobacteria have finally saturated the oceans with oxygen. There's no more iron left to rust, no more sulfur to oxidize. The oxygen has nowhere to go but up, bubbling out of the water, rising into the atmosphere. Earth is taking its first real breath. You're at the surface when it happens, when the sky begins to change. For 3 billion years, it's been orange-brown, methane and ammonia creating a thick haze. But oxygen destroys methane, breaks it apart, clears it away. The sky is turning blue, pale at first, then deeper, clearer, more like the sky you might know. This is the Great Oxygenation Event, and it's a catastrophe for most life on Earth. Oxygen is poison to the bacteria that have ruled the world for 2 billion years. They're dying, retreating to deep places where oxygen can't reach, hiding in mud, in cracks, in the depths of the ocean, where you sometimes drift. But you've seen extinctions before, watched whole groups of bacteria disappear. Life always finds a way to continue, to adapt. And some bacteria are learning to not just tolerate oxygen, but to use it, to breathe it, to turn it into energy far more efficiently than anything that came before. You drift through waters that are clearer than they've ever been. The rust is gone, settled on the seafloor, 2 miles below. The sulfur is gone, oxidized and precipitated out. The water is blue-green now, tropical, beautiful. You can see for hundreds of feet in every direction, though there's not much to see. Just empty water and occasional mats of bacteria. The continents are growing, pulled together by forces deep in Earth's mantle. The small island cratons are clustering, merging, forming the first supercontinent. Scientists will call it Kenorland, though other names are lost to time. It's not very super by modern standards, maybe the size of Australia. But it's the first time large amounts of land have stayed above water permanently. You rain onto this continent, flow across its barren surface. There's no soil yet, just bare rock and bacterial slime. But the bacteria are trying something new. They're learning to live on land, in thin films of water, in tiny cracks where you collect. They're preparing the way for everything that'll follow. Back in the oceans, something extraordinary is happening. The bacteria are getting bigger, more complex. They're developing internal structures, organelles, little organs inside single cells. And then, in one of the most important moments in Earth's history, one bacterium swallows another, but doesn't digest it. They live together, one inside the other. The inner bacterium becomes a mitochondrion, a cellular power plant that uses oxygen to create energy. This partnership is so successful, it happens again and again. Some cells swallow cyanobacteria, which become chloroplasts, internal solar panels. These new cells are eukaryotes, your ancestors, 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 the first complex cells. You're inside one of these early eukaryotes, part of its cytoplasm, the liquid that fills the cell. You can feel the difference. These cells are huge compared to bacteria, 1,000 times bigger. They move differently, with purpose, with intention. They have a nucleus where DNA is stored, protected, organized. Time is flowing, even more slowly now. Or maybe it's just your perception changing, becoming dreamier, more patient. You've entered the Proterozoic eon, the age of earlier life. It'll last for 2 billion years, the longest chapter in Earth's story. And for most of it, not much seems to happen. Scientists in the future will call this the boring billion, a billion years in the middle of the Proterozoic, when evolution seems to pause, to take a long, deep breath. But you don't find it boring. How could you? You're floating through endless blue seas, warm and calm, full of microscopic life that's slowly, so slowly, learning new tricks. The continents continue their slow dance. Kennerland breaks apart. The pieces drift, collide again, form a new supercontinent called Columbia, then another called Rodinia. You watch it all from the oceans, sometimes washing up on shores. That'll become parts of future North America, sometimes flowing through seas that'll one day be mountain ranges. The moon is even farther away now, maybe 100,000 miles. The days are getting longer. 20 hours, 21, approaching the 24. You know, the tides are gentler, more predictable. They still move you, but slowly, peacefully, like being rocked in an enormous cradle. And in this calm, stable world, life is getting creative. The eukaryotes are experimenting with multicellularity, cells sticking together, working together. Some form long chains, like living necklaces drifting through the water. Others form sheets, carpets of cells that coat the seafloor. You're flowing through a garden now, though it doesn't look like any garden you'd recognize. These early multicellular organisms are soft, delicate, without shells or bones or any hard parts. They look like quilted mattresses or fern fronds or pizza discs, strange shapes that don't fit into any modern category. The Ediacaran fauna, that's what they'll be called. Earth's first attempt at large, complex life. Some are only inches across, but others can grow to 3 feet. Enormous by the standards. of everything that came before. They don't have mouths or stomachs or any organs you'd recognize. They just sit on the seafloor, absorbing nutrients through their skin, filtering the water. You drift over fields of these strange creatures, through gardens of Dickinsonia, oval-shaped and ribbed like giant fingerprints, past groves of Charnia, looking like prehistoric feathers anchored to the seafloor, around clusters of Tribrachidium, three-armed discs that might be the first animals with symmetry. They're so peaceful. These first complex creatures, they don't hunt, don't flee, don't fight. They just exist, filtering, absorbing, growing, dying, leaving faint impressions in the sediment that'll puzzle scientists billions of years later. The water around them is full of snow, but not frozen water, marine snow, tiny particles of organic matter drifting down from above, dead bacteria, broken cells, the constant rain of life and death that feeds the deep ocean. You sink with this snow sometimes, drifting down, down, down into the dark depths. The deep ocean is different now, colder, more stratified. There are layers, each with different temperatures, different chemistry. The surface waters rarely mix with the deep anymore, creating separate worlds within the sea. You might spend millions of years in the abyss, in water so old and still it seems frozen in time. But then an upwelling current catches you, pulls you back toward the surface, and you rise through the layers, through different communities of microbes, through different temperatures, until you break into sunlight again, joining the eternal cycle of evaporation and rain. Sometimes you fall as snow now, real snow. Earth is cooling. Ice caps are forming at the poles for the first time. When you land on these glaciers, you might be locked in ice for thousands of years, millions of years, compressed into blue crystals, holding the memory of ancient atmospheres in tiny bubbles. The continents are clustering near the equator, leaving the poles open ocean. The climate is unstable, swinging between greenhouse and icehouse. Sometimes the whole ocean is tropical, bathwater warm from pole to pole. Other times, ice creeps down from the poles, chilling everything. And then, around 700 million years ago, something goes wrong, or maybe right, depending on how you look at it. The ice doesn't stop at the usual latitudes. It keeps spreading, reaching toward the equator. The white reflects sunlight, cooling Earth further, creating more ice, which reflects more sunlight. It's a runaway freeze, and you're about to experience the most dramatic climate event in Earth's history. Snowball Earth, when the entire planet, every ocean, every continent, every surface freezes solid. You're about to be locked in ice for millions of years. But don't worry. You've been patient before. You can be patient again. The ice is advancing from both poles now. You can feel the water cooling around you, getting denser, saltier as the fresh water freezes out. Soon, you'll be trapped. But it's okay. It's just another chapter in your endless story. Another transformation. Another kind of sleep. The ice reaches you in the middle of the ocean, far from any shore. You're floating near the surface when the first crystals form. Delicate dendrites of ice, spreading across the water like frozen lightning. The temperature has been dropping for months, years, centuries, and finally, it crosses that critical threshold, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. The point where you change from liquid to solid, but you don't freeze all at once. First, the surface forms a thin skin, like glass, so fragile that waves can still break it. But more ice forms, and more. The skin becomes a sheet. The sheet becomes a layer, then another, building downward, reaching for you. And when it finally touches you, when those crystals embrace you, you become part of the largest ice cube in the solar system. You're locked in place now, held in a crystalline lattice with billions of other water molecules arranged in perfect hexagonal patterns. It's not uncomfortable. It's actually quite peaceful, like being held in an embrace that'll last for millions of years. Above you, the ice keeps thickening. 10 feet, 100 feet, 1,000. In some places, near the equator, where you wouldn't expect it, the ice is over a mile thick. The entire ocean is capped, sealed, cut off from the atmosphere. The only liquid water left is deep below, kept warm by volcanic heat, or in tiny pockets and channels within the ice itself. This is Snowball Earth, though it happens more than once. The first time lasts maybe 10 million years. You spend it all frozen, suspended, dreaming. If water molecules can dream, time passes differently in ice, slower, quieter. Each year adds another layer above you, pressing down, transforming the ice from white to blue to almost black. But you're not completely still. Ice moves, flows, like very slow water, like honey made of crystal. You're part of a glacier now, creeping across what used to be ocean, scraping along the seafloor, grinding rocks to powder. Sometimes you hear it, feel it, the deep groaning of ice under pressure, the crack and split of frozen seas adjusting to Earth's tides. The moon still pulls at you, even through the ice, creating bulges, fractures. The ice creaks constantly, a symphony of frozen water, singing to itself. And beneath the ice, miles below, life continues. Bacteria cluster around volcanic vents, in pools of brine, too salty to freeze, waiting, surviving, enduring. After millions of years, something changes. Volcanoes have been erupting the whole time, but their carbon dioxide had nowhere to go. It's been building up, creating a greenhouse effect. Even the ice can't stop. The temperature rises just a degree, then 2, then 5. The ice begins to thin from below, and then, in just a few thousand years, incredibly fast by geological standards, the ice collapses. The feedback loop that created Snowball Earth reverses. Dark ocean appears, absorbs sunlight, warms more, melts more ice. Soon, the whole planet is free, and you're liquid again, flowing again, moving again, after your long, frozen sleep. The world you wake up to is completely different. The melting ice has released unimaginable amounts of nutrients into the ocean. Iron, phosphorus, nitrogen, everything life needs to explode, and it does. This is the beginning of the Cambrian explosion, the most spectacular diversification of life in Earth's history. You're swimming through water that's literally fizzing with oxygen now. The photosynthesizers have been working even under the ice, and now they're in overdrive. The water is so rich, so full of potential, and life is taking advantage, creating new forms faster than ever before. The first thing you notice is the shells. Creatures are building armor now. Calcium carbonate shells, protective houses, they carry everywhere. You flow past tiny trilobites, no bigger than buttons, with their compound eyes and segmented bodies. They're the first animals that can really see, and what a world they have to look at. The seafloor is covered with strange new creatures. Anomalocaris, the first large predator, 2 feet long, with grasping arms and bulging eyes. It seems like a monster after billions of years of peaceful filter feeders. But it moves so slowly, so gracefully, through the water, hunting in slow motion. There are sponges everywhere, drawing you through their bodies, filtering out food particles. Some are simple tubes, others are elaborate vases, intricate baskets. They've turned the seafloor into a sculpture garden, every piece unique, every piece alive, and the colors. Oh, the colors. Life isn't just green and brown anymore. There are purples and oranges, reds and yellows. Creatures are using pigments for camouflage, for warning, for display. The ocean has become a canvas, and evolution is the artist. You drift through forests of crinoids, sea lilies that aren't plants at all, but animals. Their feathery arms filtering the current. They carpet entire sections of seafloor, swaying together like an underwater meadow in slow motion, so slow you could watch for hours and barely see them move, jellyfish pulse through the water around you. They've been around since before Snowball Earth, but now they're everywhere. Transparent ghosts drifting on the currents. Their bodies are 95% water. You flow right through them, sometimes, becoming part of them for a moment, then flowing out again. The Cambrian seas are warm, tropical, from pole to pole. The continents are still mostly clustered near the equator, leaving vast open oceans at the poles. You can drift for thousands of miles without hitting land, just endless blue water, full of life. There are worms now, hundreds of species. Some burrow through sediment, others swim freely. Otoya, the penis worm, lurks in the mud with only its mouth exposed, waiting for prey to drift by. It's patient, like you, content to wait years between meals. And then there's Opabinia, 5 eyes and a trunk, like an elephant. If elephants were shrimp-sized and lived underwater. It's so bizarre that when scientists first reconstruct it, billions of years later, they'll laugh, thinking it must be a joke. But you see it alive, real, perfect in its strangeness. The water tastes different now. Calcium from all those shells. Organic compounds from all that life. The chemistry is more complex, more nuanced. Every drop contains molecules that have been through multiple organisms, processed, reprocessed, recycled. Hallucigenia walks along the seafloor on 7 pairs of spiny legs with tentacles on its back. Or maybe it's the other way around. Even watching it, you're not sure which end is which. It doesn't matter. It's alive. It works. It's part of this explosive creativity. You're carried into a lagoon, shallow and warm, protected from waves by the first real coral reefs, though they're not built by coral yet, but by archaeocyathids, cone-shaped creatures that stack together like apartment buildings. The reef is full of hidey holes, passages, secret chambers, where small creatures dart and hide. Brachiopods coat every surface, looking like clams, but unrelated, opening and closing their shells in slow rhythm, filtering, breathing. Some have shells like butterflies' wings, others like ancient Roman lamps. They'll survive almost everything Earth throws at them, outlasting most of their Cambrian neighbors. The diversity is overwhelming. In just 20 million years, life has invented every basic body plan that'll ever exist. Bilateral symmetry, radial symmetry, segmented bodies, exoskeletons, endoskeletons, eyes, antennae, gills, guts, everything is being tried, tested, explored, and you're part of it all, flowing through gills, carrying oxygen to tissues, removing waste. You're inside, predators and prey, plants and animals, living things and dying things. You're the medium in which this entire explosion of creativity happens, the stage on which evolution performs its greatest show. The Cambrian is ending, though, like everything ends. Gradually, gently, some of the weird experiments fail, go extinct. Others adapt, survive, evolve into new forms. The oceans are settling into patterns that'll persist for hundreds of millions of years. The Ordovician seas are calmer now, deeper, more stable. You've entered what future scientists will call the Paleozoic era, the age of ancient life, and the oceans are transforming into something more familiar, more like home. The weird experiments of the Cambrian are settling down, and the survivors are getting very, very good at being alive. The first fish are swimming around you now, though calling them fish is generous. They're jawless, boneless, more like swimming heads with tails, ostracoderms covered in bony plates for protection. They suck along the seafloor like living vacuum cleaners, and you flow through their gill slits, helping them breathe, helping them live. The reefs are incredible now. Massive structures built by corals, real corals this time, not the strange Cambrian experiments. These reefs stretch for miles, creating underwater mountains, cities, entire worlds of limestone and life. You flow through their passages, their channels, their secret spaces, where sunlight filters down in cathedral rays. Every surface is covered with something alive. Bryozoans that look like lace, crinoids swaying like underwater palm trees, brachiopods and mollusks clustering so thick you can't see the rock beneath. The colors are softer now, more pastel, purples and pinks, creams and pale blues, everything washed in that eternal underwater light. Time is moving so slowly now, so peacefully. You drift for decades through the same reef system, watching it grow inch by inch. The corals add their skeletons, layer by layer, building up, building out, creating structures that'll become limestone mountains in some far future when the seas retreat. The Silurian period arrives gently, like all these transitions, and with it come the first fish with jaws, placoderms, armored monsters, some as big as school buses. Their jaws are like scissors made of bone, crushing shells, cutting flesh. They're slow though. Everything is still so slow underwater. Predation happens in graceful motion, almost like a dance. You're inside one, of these great fish now, part of its blood, carrying oxygen from its primitive gills to its massive muscles. You can feel its heartbeat, slow and strong, maybe 20 beats per minute. Everything about these ancient fish is patient, deliberate, unhurried. Plants are finally conquering the land above you, and it's changing the water. Rivers carry new minerals, new nutrients. The color of the ocean near shores is shifting, greener, richer, fed by the first soil, the first real erosion of vegetated land. You can taste the difference. Organic molecules that have never existed before. The Devonian seas are the warmest. They've been, in 100 million years, bath warm, even at the poles. You drift through waters so clear, you can see the bottom, even hundreds of feet down. Reefs, bigger than any that'll ever exist again. Some reaching from the seafloor, almost to the surface, 2,000 feet of living rock. Sharks appear, perfection in motion from their very first moment. They've figured out something special. Cartilage instead of bone. Flexible, light, efficient. They'll barely change for the next 400 million years because they don't need to. They're already perfect. And you flow through their gills, feeling their ancient rhythm. The first tetrapods are learning to walk, fish with legs, spending part of their time in water, part on land. You're in their primitive lungs when they breathe air, in their gills when they return to the sea. You're part of both worlds now. The boundary between ocean and land getting blurrier. Ammonites spiral through the water. Their shells are mathematical perfection, logarithmic spirals that grow in golden ratios. They jet propel themselves backward, sucking water in, shooting it out, and you're part of their propulsion, their movement, their life. The Carboniferous oceans are full of giants, sea scorpions, 8 feet long, millipedes, the size of cars when they crawl onto land. Everything is bigger because there's so much oxygen. 35% of the atmosphere instead of 21. The water is supersaturated with it, fizzing with life. You drift through swamps that'll become coal, through shallow seas full of crinoids so numerous their broken stems will form entire limestone beds, through clear tropical waters where the first reptiles are learning to swim, not yet committed. To the ocean, but visiting, experimenting. The Permian is ending badly, very badly. Volcanoes in Siberia are erupting on a scale Earth has rarely seen. The ocean is acidifying, warming, losing oxygen. 96% of marine species are dying. It's the Great Dying, the worst extinction Earth will ever know, and you're witnessing it all. in horrible, slow motion. But you've seen extinctions before. You know life finds a way. And in the emptied oceans, survivors are already adapting, evolving, filling the empty spaces. The Mesozoic era is beginning. The age of reptiles and the oceans are about to get very, very interesting. The first ichthyosaurs are returning to the water. Reptiles whose ancestors left the ocean are coming back, redesigning themselves for marine life. Their eyes are the biggest vertebrate eyes that'll ever exist. Some the size of dinner plates, perfect for the deep, dark waters they hunt in. You flow through these massive eyes, helping to maintain pressure, helping them see in the darkness. The Triassic oceans are recovering, rebuilding. Life is simpler than before the extinction, but it's innovating faster, trying new things, new ways of swimming, hunting, surviving. Plesiosaurs appear with their impossible necks, like snakes threaded through turtle bodies. They move so gracefully, using 4 flippers, like underwater birds, flying through the water. You're in their long throats as they swallow fish whole in their stomachs, helping digest. In their blood, carrying nutrients to growing embryos. The Jurassic seas are warm again, greenhouse warm. There's no ice anywhere on Earth, even at the poles. You can drift from equator to pole without feeling much temperature change. The whole ocean is tropical, comfortable, peaceful. Despite the predators, coral reefs are back. Different corals, but the same idea. Building, growing, creating underwater architecture. You flow through their polyps at night when they extend to feed. Tiny hands grabbing plankton from the water, passing it to tiny mouths. Such patience, such persistence. Mosasaurs rule the Cretaceous oceans, marine lizards that have become serpents, then giants. Some 40 feet long, with teeth like bananas. They're the apex predators. Nothing in the ocean is safe from them. Yet they move with such liquid grace, barely making ripples. You're in the Western Interior Seaway now, a shallow ocean that splits North America in half, from the Arctic to the Gulf of Mexico, right through the middle of the continent. It's full of life. Pteranodons diving for fish, plesiosaurs hunting in the shallows, giant sea turtles the size of cars. The water here is special. Limited circulation means layers don't mix. The bottom is anoxic, without oxygen. When things die and sink, they're preserved perfectly. No bacteria to decay them. Future paleontologists will find incredible fossils here. Whole skeletons, articulated exactly as they fell. Ammonites are everywhere. Some with shells like ram's horns. Others straight as arrows, some covered in spines, others smooth as silk. They're the success story of the Mesozoic, filling every niche, every depth, every ocean. The chalk is forming microscopic plankton with calcium shells, coccolithophores dying in their trillions, raining down like snow that never stops, building the white cliffs of Dover, the Kansas chalk beds, layers hundreds of feet thick of pure microscopic shells. You sink with them, part of this slow accumulation. Something's wrong, though. You can feel it in the water. Temperatures are spiking. The ocean is more acidic. There's too much carbon in the system. Volcanic activity in India is poisoning everything. And then comes the asteroid. You don't see it hit. You're deep underwater, off the Yucatan Peninsula. But you feel it. The pressure wave, the heat, the ocean floor jumps, cracks. Tsunamis race outward at jet speeds. The water temperature rises 20 degrees in seconds. Then the darkness comes. Impact winter. The sun blocked out. The food chains collapsing. The marine reptiles are dying. The ammonites are dying. 3/4 of all species are dying. It's another ending, another mass extinction. But you've been through this before. You know what comes next. Recovery, innovation, new life rushing to fill empty niches. The darkness lifts slowly, so slowly. Years pass, decades, centuries. The impact winter finally ends, and sunlight returns to the oceans. Weak at first, then stronger. The Cenozoic era has begun, the age of mammals, though I wouldn't know it yet from the empty seas. Everything is quiet now, eerily quiet. The great marine reptiles are gone. Nothing but bones on the seafloor. The ammonites, gone. Their shells will never spiral through these waters again. The ocean feels lonely, abandoned, like a house where everyone has moved away. But listen, drift a little closer. Life is stirring. Tiny fish that hid in reef cracks are venturing out. Sharks, because sharks survive everything, are slowly cruising through the emptiness, looking for food in a depleted world. And from the shores, small mammals are beginning to wade into the shallows, testing, exploring. You're in the Paleocene seas now. 50 million years ago, the water is murky, full of sediment from erosion, without much vegetation to hold it back. But things are growing. Kelp forests are spreading, creating underwater jungles, swaying forests that reach toward the surface light. The first whales are returning to the water, though they don't look like whales yet. Pachycetus, walking on 4 legs, spending half their time on land. half in rivers. Then Ambuloxetus, the walking whale, swimming with webbed feet, you flow through their strange transitional bodies, part land mammal, part sea creature. Time drifts by like you're drifting, millions of years passing in what feels like moments. The Eocene oceans are warmer than they've been since the Cretaceous. Tropical seas reach nearly to the poles. Palm trees grow in Alaska. Crocodiles swim where polar bears will one day hunt. Basilosaurus glides past, 50 feet long, serpentine, finally fully aquatic. The whales have committed to the ocean completely now. Their legs are flippers. Their nostrils are blowholes. You're in their massive lungs as they dive deep, holding their breath for impossible lengths of time. The ocean is stratifying again, layers forming, each with its own temperature, chemistry, community of life. You sink through them all, through the sunlight zone where phytoplankton bloom, through the twilight zone where things get strange, through the midnight zone where it's always dark, always cold, always quiet. Something's happening at the poles. Ice is forming again. For the first time in hundreds of millions of years, permanent ice caps are growing. The Oligocene is cooler, drier. The warm greenhouse world is ending, replaced by something more like the world you might know. The first baleen whales are filter feeding, mouths open wide, straining millions of tiny organisms from the water. You flow through their baleen plates, through tons of water every hour, helping them feed, helping them grow into the largest animals that have ever lived. Kelp forests are magnificent now. Underwater redwood forests. Some kelp growing 2 feet in a single day. You drift through their fronds, in and out of sunshine and shadow, watching sea otters learn to use tools, cracking shells on their bellies, patient, clever, playful, even in slow motion. The Miocene oceans are full of giants. Megalodon, 60 feet long, with teeth the size of hands. The ultimate predator, hunting whales. You're in its gills, feeling the power of this creature. The slow, confident movements, the absolute mastery of its environment. But the oceans are cooling more. The Antarctic ice sheet is growing, locking up water, lowering sea levels. The Mediterranean dries up completely, then refills in a massive flood. You're there for both, the drying and the filling, patient through it all. Seagrass meadows spread across shallow seafloors. Manatees graze on them slowly, so slowly. Everything they do in peaceful slow motion. You're in their gentle bodies, their slow hearts beating maybe 3 times a minute when they rest, their patience incarnated, peace made flesh. The Pliocene passes gently. The continents are almost in their modern positions now. The oceans have their familiar shapes: the Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, Arctic, Southern. You've swum in all of them as they formed, as they spread, as they found their boundaries. And then the ice ages begin. The Pleistocene, 2.5 million years of ice advancing and retreating, advancing and retreating. You freeze and thaw, freeze and thaw, sometimes locked in glaciers for 100,000 years, sometimes free in tropical seas. During the warm periods, the interglacials, the oceans are like they are today, full of life, full of complexity, coral reefs and kelp forests, whales singing songs that travel thousands of miles, dolphins playing in waves, everything connected, everything in balance. You've seen so much, been through so much. 4.5 billion years of Earth's oceans, from scalding steam to frozen ice, from red iron seas to clear blue waters, from empty sterile water to oceans teeming with life. Every age, every era, every period, you've been there for all of it. And now you're here in the modern ocean, the Holocene seas, though they're changing too, always changing, warming from human activity, acidifying. But you've seen change before. You know the ocean endures, adapts, continues. You're drifting now in a peaceful sea, maybe the Pacific, maybe the Atlantic. It doesn't matter. They're all connected, all one ocean, really. Just like all water is one water, cycling endlessly. You're tired, so tired after such a long journey. 4.5 billion years of swimming, of drifting, of being. The moon is setting now, the same moon you've watched for so long, though it's farther away, smaller in the sky. The tides that once towered like mountains are gentle now, just a few feet, rising and falling with ancient rhythm, breathing in, breathing out, the planet's slowest breath. You can feel yourself starting to disperse, the bonds holding you together as a water molecule are loosening, relaxing. It's not ending. Nothing ever really ends in the water cycle. It just transforms. You'll evaporate soon, rise into clouds, fall as rain, join rivers, return to the sea, again and again and again. But for now, just for now, you're still, finally still, after all that motion, floating in perfect equilibrium, neither rising nor sinking, neither moving forward nor backward, just suspended in the blue, in the quiet, in the peace. The fish swimming around you move so slowly they might be sleeping, drifting with their eyes open, their hearts beating 3, 4 times a minute. Everything is slowing down, winding down, settling into rest. And if you're still awake, still floating here with me through these ancient waters, that's perfectly beautiful. Some journeys are too wondrous to sleep through, and maybe you need another story, another drift through time. There's always another ocean to explore, another story waiting to carry you deeper into rest. If you'd like, just let the next story play. Don't move, don't reach for anything. Just let it wash over you like a gentle tide, carrying you further into peace. The stories never really end. They just flow into each other, like streams flowing into rivers, rivers into seas, seas into oceans. But maybe you're already drifting off, already becoming part of the water yourself, dissolving into the story, into the ocean, into sleep. And that's perfect too. Exactly right. Exactly what should happen. You've traveled so far tonight, through every ocean that's ever been. You've been rain and ice and steam and fog. You've been inside the first living things and the latest. You've seen the world begin and change again. And through it all, you've been patient, peaceful, persistent. Thank you for taking this journey with me, for floating through deep time, for being the water, becoming the ocean. It's been an honor to drift alongside you, to share these ancient memories, these long, slow stories of our blue planet. The waves are getting softer now, gentler, barely waves at all. More like breathing, like the ocean itself is falling asleep, and you can fall asleep too. It's time. You've earned this rest, earned this peace. Let the water hold you. It knows how. It's been holding things for billions of years. Let it support you, surround you. You don't need to swim anymore. Don't need to move. Just float. Just be. Just rest. The darkness of the deep ocean is rising up to meet you. Not scary darkness, but the soft darkness of the deepest waters, where everything is quiet, everything is still, everything is perfect peace. You can sink into it, or let it rise to you. Either way, you're safe, you're held, you're home. Every ocean you've ever imagined is here with you now. The warm seas of childhood vacations, the wild waves of storms, the calm mirrors of morning lakes. They're all the same water, the same ocean. the same ancient cycle that you've been part of tonight. Sleep is coming, like the tide, inevitable, gentle, complete. You can feel it in every molecule, every atom, every part of you that was once a star, once cosmic dust, once water drifting through space. You're returning to that drift, that endless, peaceful drift. The story is ending, but the ocean continues. The waves will keep rolling. The tides will keep turning. The water will keep cycling, and you'll keep dreaming, dreaming of ancient seas, of gentle currents, of the long, slow patience of water. Good night, my friend, my fellow drop in this vast ocean. Sleep well, sleep deep. Let the ancient waters rock you, hold you, carry you through the night, through all the dreams that are coming. All the rest you're sinking into. Sweet dreams, ocean dreams, dreams as deep as the Marianas Trench, as warm as Devonian seas, as peaceful as a molecule of water that's seen everything, been everywhere, and finally, found perfect rest. The ocean is sleeping now, and you can sleep too, drifting, always drifting, forever drifting, into peace, into quiet, into the deepest, most perfect sleep.